Hey folks, Dale Davidson. Hope you're having a great day. Hey, check out these raccoon eyes. Was out there enjoying the weather this past weekend. Had some saltwater boat therapy. Had a great time. Hope you and your family had a great weekend also. So today what we're going to talk about is spousal benefits. We get a lot of comments here saying, hey, I've got DIC, disability indemnity compensation, or I'm getting VA aid and attendance, or VA pension. If something happens to me, does my wife get my benefits? So the first question we have to ask is, you got to have a qualifying family relationship in order for your surviving spouse to receive your benefits. Because remember that the dependent or your survivor is not entitled to benefits, okay, in his or her own right, okay? Entitlement always is through the veteran and nobody else. Let's pretend that the veteran is deceased. Then entitlement for benefits generally goes to the surviving spouse. So for VA purposes, in order to recognize you as the surviving spouse, the marriage must have been valid under state law. So we've got to provide adequate proof of a valid marriage. So determine what is valid, the VA will consider state law, the place where you live, where you reside, okay, or where they resided at the time of the marriage, or where they resided at the time when VA benefits arose or accrued. So in order to form a valid marriage under state law, the parties must have been, at the time of the marriage, a valid marriage under no coercion, free to marry. I refer to that as no shotgun marriage, okay? So if you married somebody voluntarily of your free and voluntary act, then you're good to go under state law. And that doesn't matter if you're a same-sex or whatever. If it's valid under state law, it's valid for VA purposes. Okay. When applying for benefits, whether it be DIC or VA aid and attendance, okay, you've got to prove all prior marriages. So you got to have the first and last names of who you married or who your spouse married, current Social Security numbers of your current spouse. Then you've got to have how your previous marriage ended. If it was death, we need a death certificate. If it was divorce or annulment, we need some kind of court papers showing that. We get that question a lot. Why does the VA care about my prior marriages or my spouse's prior marriages? Well, they're trying to determine if your current marriage is valid. Because believe it or not, and I've had this happen here, I had an individual about 3 or 4 years ago come up, and he was still married to 2 other women before he was getting married to this third. So we had to go and get him divorced from these other 2 women. It was a funny story, but it actually happened before we could get him qualified for the VA benefits. So we have to show that the prior marriages were validly ended by death, divorce, or annulment. If divorce and annulment, we've got to show court documents, okay? And then you've got to tell them where the prior marriage ended. Generally, as a general rule, as the surviving spouse, you've got to be married for at least a year for DIC or pension. Now, there's some different exceptions to that rule. So if you have any issues with that or you have a question, leave a comment below. We'll answer them or shoot us an email at dearvaguy@gmail.com, dearvaguy@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to give that answer. But the 1-year requirement applies in all cases, even under common law marriage. And common law marriage is not a ceremonial marriage. It's where you've been living as husband and wife for a period of time. Now, Georgia quit recognizing common law marriages in 1997. And Florida stopped recognizing common law marriages in 1968. But if you were living together, holding yourself out as husband and wife prior to those dates, then the VA will respect your common law marriage. Okay, but you got to look at your state law. Now, you got to have continuous cohabitation, meaning you can't be living separate and apart. You can't be living separate lives. I've had clients where the husband, lived here in Georgia and the wife lived in Florida, and he did that for job reasons. So that was okay as far as cohabitation, but you can't be really living separate and apart from each other, or having a separate life and just being kind of a marriage by convenience. So you got to have cohabitation. There's this little special rule that says for deaths occurring after December 16th, 2003, I think the date is. So as a claimant, as a surviving spouse, you would be entitled to all of the benefits that your veteran spouse was receiving. Remember when I said that benefits always accrue to the veteran. Okay, you're entitled to the veteran's benefits because you were his or her surviving spouse. Because you don't have a right in of yourself to entitlement. It's always through your veteran spouse. But good news is for DIC that you are entitled to all of your spouse's benefits on his or her death. Just got to make sure that you make that application and do it quickly. A little bit different with VA pension or VA aid and attendance. So that's the benefit where we're looking at activities of daily living, where feeding, bathing, dressing, transportation, those kinds of things, financial management, all of those things kind of work into the mix there. So we've got to provide the VA with documentation that as the surviving spouse, you need the benefits. And as a surviving spouse, you're entitled to a reduced benefit, not all of the benefit like we were doing with DIC. So, for instance, in this year, 2022, the couple benefit is the maximum pension benefit is $2,430. So, as the surviving spouse and a non-veteran, you're entitled to the surviving spousal benefit, but it is reduced to about $1,325, $1,350. So it's not 100% like in DIC, it's reduced. Now, if you're the surviving veteran, the maximum pension is reduced because you no longer have a dependent, and that's about $1,950. Again, DIC, you get 100% of the benefit, but you got to prove that you're the spouse, okay? And there's some rules that we've got to apply. And then also with VA aid and attendance, there's some rules there with respect to surviving spouses. So, listen, we hope we've helped you today. Again, leave some comments below if you like what we're doing. Please like and subscribe because we're here for you. We want to honor you as a veteran, and we want to honor you as a surviving spouse of the veteran, because surviving spouses, even though you weren't serving, you certainly kept the home fires burning for the veteran, and we really do appreciate you. Until next time, you have a blessed day. Thank you.
Catching bass on an old fishing boat. One more story from Grandpa Joe. Let's get